Hello everyone, Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal. It is Saturday. I hope the day is going well wherever you're watching or listening to this around the world. Thanks for joining me. As always, we are now at the penultimate weekend, of course, of the Premier League season. Has already gotten underway with Chelsea and Villa winning last night. So Arsenal in action tomorrow at the Emirates for the final time of the season against Newcastle. Big game, of course, for Champions League spots, for second place, for pride, really. To be fair, for Arsenal, having lost 3 times in a row to Newcastle this season in all competitions, they'll want to get something over them this time. We want to avoid losing to them 4 times in a single season, which would just be a remarkable stat. So we'll talk about what Mikel Arteta has been saying ahead of that game in today's show. Obviously, at the press conference yesterday, for my patron members, we had the live chat from the car park, from the sweltering heat of my car. After that yesterday, if you haven't signed up for Patreon yet, you can do. Down below, become an Inside Arsenal member. You get exclusive extra content from me. The link is down below in the description. So thank you very much for all of you who have already signed up to it. So let's get started, shall we? We'll talk about quickly on the team news, first of all, what Mikel said yesterday ahead of tomorrow's game, obviously indicating that Kai Havertz has a chance to be involved in that game, saying a late decision is going to be taken on him, on Rice, Trossard and Martinelli. He said they've done parts in the session, not a complete session, so we're going to have to wait and see if they can deal with things that they haven't already done because they weren't ready at the end of the week. So decisions being taken today. I would suggest they're going to play. Look, I think Havertz will be on the bench. I think Rice is going to start. I think Trossard's going to start. Jorginho will probably be on the bench. Doesn't look like there's going to be any enduring timber. I think that one's probably unlikely. But aside from that, I mean, the good thing, obviously, having Kai Havertz back, a little bit too late, unfortunately. Could have done with him about 3 weeks ago before the Champions League semi-final. Mikel was asked about Kai. He said he's done certain parts of the sessions in the last few days. Looks in great shape. I think it's a shout for all the medical staff, the doctor especially, to give him the clearance, and then how Kai actually feels to contribute if he's required. He talked about the sort of work rate that Havertz has shown in his recovery. He said it's unbelievable, his work rate and the work he's done. A lot of credit to the medical staff for the work they've done throughout the last few months, because they've been pushing each other. We know how important Kai is for us, and the fact he looks in great shape. I think he's improved a lot of the metrics that are very important for a striker to give himself the best chance. You see the transformation. Now, he spoke about that more in the embargoed section of the press conference. Interesting, sort of really hinting that Havertz has bulked up physically a lot during this time off. Obviously, I have a look on Sunday when I see. I didn't really notice it too much from the pictures that I saw from open training. But this is what he had to say in the embargo section. You might not have seen these quotes already. He says, there's been a transformation in his body. The last 3 years in his career have been so condensed that he hasn't had time to do that. And this has been a window and he really wanted to use it. To be fair, the staff and how they've explained the opportunity that is within his physique to go to a different level and the things that he can prove, and it can even help him mentally as well as being more effective as a player. He got on board with that. He worked hard. You see his presence. And I think he destroyed all of the metrics that we had in the gym for the last 10 years. He was then asked, what are those metrics that he's destroyed while he's been doing his rehab? He said all of them: power, acceleration, muscle mass, the way that he's increased certain capacities in his body, his agility. He's been incredible. I was talking to the medical staff the other day and they were all talking about it. For someone that is not in the team to have that mindset, the only thing he has done is raise the standards in the building, because the other ones who are in the building who are injured and looking at him, they're saying to themselves, I'm going to look bad if I don't do the same. So that's part of the culture. And we're very grateful, because when players that are not playing are doing that, it's just raising the bar for the next one to come. If he's not at that level, he is going to get exposed. So that will make us better. Interesting stuff, I thought, there on Havertz. It's going to be interesting to see him. I'm expecting this big, incredible Hulk like Kai Havertz to run out of the Emirates on Sunday now, following those comments from Mikel Arteta. But it's interesting, that he has got his head down and he's worked that hard, and he's tried to really use this time out as an opportunity to maybe bulk up, just make himself more of a sort of strong physical specimen than he already is. And he was already strong before, but if he's done everything that Mikel Arteta says he's done, then he's hopefully that's going to work to his benefit. He was also asked about Havertz and kind of where he sees his future if a new striker, or when a new striker does arrive this summer. He said one of the biggest qualities with Kai is his versatility and his goal threat wherever he plays. He's so intelligent. He will play as a number 9. He will play as an attacking midfielder, and he will be super important for us as a team. So interesting stuff, I thought, from Mikel on Kai. There was also lots of talk about Andrea Berta. This was interesting. Arteta was very adamant on this because, I mean, you've seen it. I mean, you've spoke about it. I've had some questions on it in the show in the last week or so about this, the club not being aligned maybe, or not the club, but Arteta and Berta not being aligned when it comes to transfer business, the whole Sesko Gyokeres thing. And people are asking me, are they going to clash heads or are they clashing heads? Who's going to win? Is there going to be a power battle? All that sort of stuff. It's a narrative that has just begun to creep into the news cycle, mainly through social media more than anything else. But Arteta was asked about it yesterday in a press conference, and he was very, very adamant. Again, what you're looking at on screen there, you can see on that was in the live section. There was bits more in the embargoed section as well. And he was asked about, what it's like working with Andrea Berta compared to Edu. And he talked about how there were different personalities, but, it's been very good to work with him. And that he thinks, he's going to come in, he's going to add value and he's going to make Arsenal better. And that's why the reason he was brought in the first place. When he was asked if they're not fully aligned on the players that they want, and was specifically asked about the strikers, he says, if that happens, that means we cannot explain ourselves well enough and you are not clear enough on what we want. And I guarantee you that hasn't happened. It didn't happen in 5.5 years of Edu, and I guarantee you the same with Andrea. They are good to say, Mikel, look at this. This is what we need. And I say, go for it, and then we'll do it. If not, it's because I will ask that many questions and we will do so much work that it will be evident that this is what we don't have to do. It's not because it's not going to fit. We have learned a lot. Some of them have worked really well and others have not. And for the ones, and that's for the ones as well that we have to learn. So it's hard to, when you read verbatim from Mikel, it doesn't make sense a lot of the time. So to make sure that we make the right calls, and we're all human beings. Unfortunately, nobody's got a crystal ball out there. So he's very adamant that it's not, that there is no misalignment or anything like that, and it hasn't happened with him. Didn't happen with Edu. He was then also asked in the embargo section, okay, so who's got the final say on transfers? Is it you? And he said, it's always a we. I think it's always a decision that all of us have to come together. Then obviously in certain aspects, the club, financial aspects, whether it's a strategy or this or that, the club have a bigger say than me because I don't want to have an opinion on that. I would have probably a reference, but not as strong as opinion. When it's more technical or tactical aspects of how I think that player is going to emerge and be cohesive with the group of players that we already have, and where I see them developing and what we do next with another player, of course, that is more between me and the sporting director, Andrea, myself, and the scouting department. So very much saying it's a collective type of thing. That's what I was trying to get at earlier on in the week when I was answering questions about the potential of a clash between these two, that I just don't see it. I never see a player coming in that Mikel Arteta doesn't want or hasn't given a green light to. He may not, he may have needed a bit of convincing in that. And that's what he's talking about there, the sort of talks that they have. They'll come to conclusion together. So you might need some convincing, but he will eventually say yes. If he says no and he's adamant, no, I don't want him, Arsenal won't sign him. So that there'll never be a player being brought in and just thrown into the squad over Arteta's head. I do not envisage any way that happens. Arteta's too powerful for that where he is at the club, and it wouldn't work. You never want that happening. You see that happening. It's just a mess when that happens at other clubs, when players get thrown into managers. It's unfair on the player, first of all, because the manager doesn't want him, and so he gets put into a squad. The club spend a load of money on him, and then the manager's not really going to use him. So it doesn't make any sense. There has to be an alignment, and Andrea has been brought in very much to be the sort of deal maker, the guy to get the deals done, get them over the line. He's not come in to sign players. His background is much more, I know, look, he's been working in football for a long time, so he'll know his stuff, but his background is much more business than it is football. And so he's the guy who's been brought in to close the deals, to get the deals over the line that maybe Arsenal haven't been able to do before, and to help Arteta in that way, rather than bring players in over his head. On the transfer window, a few interesting stuff. He talked about if the sort of early transfer window gives Arsenal an opportunity to do something. He says there's an opportunity. We are very much aware of it. We'll see what we can do. I then asked him that one about Arsenal, if Arsenal can get their business done early, because it looks like other clubs are doing that at the moment. I use Real Madrid and Dean Howson and Liverpool and Jeremy Frimpong as an example. He says, on paper, I think every club, every manager, every player wants to be in the building on day one and get that transition and that adaptation as quickly as possible. The reality is sometimes it's possible and sometimes it's difficult, but it is the ideal scenario on paper. He then also did in the embargo section was interesting stuff. He was asked about whether Arsenal might smash their sort of transfer budget record this summer, and he was asked. It was Gary from the Times asked him about Declan Rice. Huge outlay, 105 million, whatever it was, 110 million in the end, but it's been worth every penny of it. It's an example of sometimes you have to pay more than maybe you wanted to, because Arsenal had to raise their offer about 4 times to get Declan Rice, but it was worth it in the end. Is that something you might have to do this summer and really sort of smash that budget just to make sure it's worth it and gets you to the position you want? And he said, this is Arteta's answer, it's quite funny. He says, the budget is like when you have your wedding. You plan your wedding with your wife, you give her a budget, but it's never less. It's always more. When you build a house, it's always more. Normally this happens. You prepare for different scenarios, then unfortunate things happen. There are many variables and that can happen, but there is always a budget. There is always an idea of what we can do, what we can improve, what the priorities are going to be, and then let's see if we can do it. It's a little suggestion maybe there that Arsenal would be willing to go over and above in this summer transfer window if it means they can get the players that they really, really want. I thought this was interesting as well from Arteta in the presser yesterday, saying that Arsenal are going to be going back to Marbella for a sort of pre-season training camp. They did that last year, not with everyone. A few players went. The players wanted it. They requested it, and the club said okay, and they took some of them to Marbella for just ahead of when pre-season officially started, so they could start to get themselves in decent enough shape. So when pre-season did start, they weren't absolutely blowing and knackered. And he was asked yesterday by James Ollie at the ESPN whether he was going to do that again, whether the club were going to do that again. And he said, yes, the players are demanding it. Nowadays, I think it's impossible to have 4, 5, 6 weeks on your sunbed, putting sun cream on and just ordering drinks. 6 weeks later, you then go full gas, tour and play 65 games. I think it's impossible. They demand themselves to be in the best possible condition. And we are really lucky because we have boys that they want to spend the summer with their families and with them, so they want to be together as well. So if I can pick a place that we can do that and we can facilitate it, more than welcome to do that, because of course the families go over. It's not like a pre-season training camp. It's a case of they come over. They did this last summer. They have like a 3-hour window where they do a little bit of training to get them ready for pre-season, and then all the families are there together and they go out and do their own thing. There's no rules or anything like that. So it's still kind of like holiday, just with a bit of training in the middle of it. And the players really liked it last year, and sounds like they want to do it again this summer. So yeah, that'll be interesting. I wonder if it'll be Marbella again. So if you go to Marbella this summer, keep your eyes peeled. Might well run into some Arsenal players. Okay, Premier League weekend started last night. And the results mean that Arsenal haven't yet qualified for the Champions League. Needed one of these two teams to drop points out of Villa and Chelsea, but they didn't, because of course they didn't, because they were playing Tottenham and Man United. So it was never going to happen. It was actually closer than I thought it was going to be, especially in the Chelsea Man United game. Gyokeres scoring pretty late. Lovely assist from Reece James for that goal. Villa just too strong for Spurs in the end. In the second half, Spurs made a lot of changes ahead of the Europa League final. So still not done and dusted. Arsenal still need to get a result this weekend against Newcastle to ensure Champions League is assured. Basically, you win against Newcastle, you've got second and you've got Champions League. That's it. That's on the line for the players. It's as simple as that. That's the equation. So just beat Newcastle tomorrow. I know it's easier said than done, especially when you look at the record Arsenal got against Newcastle, but that is it. The players know that. There's no other things they need to have in their heads tomorrow. It's just get the job done, finish it off tomorrow, and then go to Southampton, get your Lilos out, whatever you want to do, either St Mary's, and it really doesn't matter. So just get the job done tomorrow against Newcastle. Interesting to see who Arteta picks in that game against Newcastle. I think if Rice and Trossard play, I think the team pretty much picks itself, because you'd imagine Ben White's going to be a right back, Rice is going to be in the middle. You have Trossard over on the left, Gabriel Martinelli up front, after the success the pair of those two had when they switched positions at Anfield. I'd be very surprised if that's not the kind of lineup that Mikel Arteta is going for. Okay, before I wrap this one up today, just wanted to share, I had so much reaction. So I pulled a few pages of slides together for this reaction. So I'm going to rattle through them just to show you, I think it's really interesting, the mixture of the Sesko Gyokeres debate. Who wants who would prefer who? Is that the opinion is very clear. I think it is just on the side of Sesko from the sheer weight of replies that I was looking at from you guys yesterday, who was saying what. But it's close. And I just think it just shows it's really, really interesting in terms of it's almost like toss of a coin type thing, 50-50. So Classic Dan says, Arsenal made the same mistake with Isak and missed out on a £70 million price tag. Buy Sesko now before he's over 100 million. Russell said, we need Sesko and Gyokeres, at least two strikers to get us over the line, especially if we want to try and challenge for every competition. Yeah, I don't see that happening, Russell. It'd be nice. Don't see that happening. Dean says, I can't help feel Sesko would be the better signing for us. He suits our play better and would only have to score 13 goals per season for 6 years to match Gyokeres' goal tally at his age. I also can't help but be concerned about the Portuguese league. You can count on one hand how many players from the Portuguese league make it big in the Premier League. Yeah, I do understand the point, but Bruno Fernandes didn't do too badly. Gyokeres over Sesko all day, says CTPNK. I don't agree. There'll be any more leeway given to Sesko for his age. Arsenal cannot afford to bring in a striker that is not ready now. And then we've got Neil here who says, Sesko, for me, his skill set would adapt to the Premier League, in my opinion. Quick two-footed movement and vision would work and transfer better, whereas I think Gyokeres would get found out and not get away with his numbers in the Portuguese league. Don't get me wrong. If they are both hitting, let's say, 30, I think Sesko gets 20 and Gyokeres 15 in the Prem. Mighty Mo says, Sesko, higher ceiling. Stark says 60 million euros for the better player right now versus 75 million euros for potential no-brainer. Arsenal don't have time to wait. So he's saying Gyokeres. Burr says Sesko would be suitable for Arsenal. Gyokeres is a good player, but we don't have the midfield who is really good in a killer passes. I don't agree with that. Odegaard absolutely is, especially when he's got a runner going ahead of him. We saw that against Liverpool last week when he had Martinelli actually making some runs for him. Daniel now says we missed out on... Oh, I've already done that one. Or have I gone backwards? I've already done that one. That's unfortunate. Or did I? No, I didn't. It's the same thing. Sorry, Daniel, we'll go over that one. We missed out on Isak pre-Newcastle when the fee they paid for him was made to look like a bargain, 63 million. I'd be over the moon with around that price for a player like Sesko that would develop into a force over the years at us. We'd expect 10, 15 goals in his first season. Realistically, if we had that amount for a striker this year, we'd have been closer to the title. Maz says, Gyokeres over Sesko 100%. We need to win at least one major trophy next season. Larry says a 6-foot-plus striker with good pace and elite technical skills or elite poaching instincts will surpass a purely physical striker in EPL. Signing Gyokeres would be a massive mistake. It means we didn't learn from missing out on Isak. And Marek says Gyokeres should be everyone's and every club's first choice. It's just really interesting, the absolute difference of opinion there. So many people saying Sesko, so many people saying Gyokeres, and there was miles more. Thanks to everyone who left a comment on yesterday's show and got involved in that debate. It was really interesting scrolling through them, just looking at the difference in opinion on so many people. It's just sums up. It's with me, like I keep saying, I change my mind every single day almost on the two of them, which makes me just think that, to be honest, I don't care who it is. I'll just take either of them and just trust the club's judgment on whoever they go for. I just want to get it done. I just want to know that we've got a striker, a really good looking, impressive striker that could hopefully get us the goals that we need next season. But anyway, it's still a few weeks away from the transfer window opening. I know that is already the talk dominating things now because, let's face it, the season's done and dusted for pretty much everyone. So that's why there's so much talk about strikers and transfer windows and all that sort of stuff at the moment. But there is a game tomorrow still to look forward to. I'll be back in the morning with my preview show. You want to get involved in that, give me your team selections, what Arteta should do, let me know in the comments below and I'll pull some of them together and get them included. Until then, have a great start to your weekend, everyone. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.